Hello, everybody. I'm Chef Almir Fonseca, and I'm chef instructor at the Culinary Institute of America, Greystone campus, San Helena, California. And today we're going to do an interesting recipe over here, which is a spicy noodle dish. It's a Beijing style spicy noodle dish. So I have some beautiful Asian noodles, egg noodles, and we're going to have some cucumbers and some julienne of carrots, and we're going to have ground pork, and we're going to have sprouts and beautiful cabbage and onion. And what we're going to do this you can do in a sauté pan, you can do in a wok style, depends on how you're going to be cooking at home and how you're going to be using this application. But because it's going to be a high heat cooking technique, in this case it's going to be pretty much like a sauté or stir fry kind of technique, we'll be using canola oil because that stands a lot of heat and won't change the flavors of the components that I'm going to utilize on this dish, okay? So first I start over here, I have just water that I brought to a boil. I'm going to season up a little bit with salt, okay? I'm going to have my noodles going to that water. Okay? I'm going to fluff that up a little bit. And egg noodles, Asian style, cooks a little bit different than Italian style noodles. The dough is made a little bit different. There isn't as much kneading as some of the Italian style noodles. So this is going to get nice and plump, but going to still hold some nice texture. So once you go back into the wok, or in this case our sauté pan, you're just going to hold the heat very well. I'm going to collect the flavors extremely well, okay? So I'm going to allow that to cook a little bit. So right here what I have some beautiful Napa cabbage that is simply julienne. I have some onions that I small dice. Have fresh sprouts over here. I have ground pork, okay? And I'm going to have the final garnish over here, which is going to be a little crispy carrots and cucumber salad. They're going to just kind of make a little bit of a citrus dressing with a little bit of mirin here, okay? So I have all my components of my sauce over here. I have my soy sauce, I have my sherry vinegar, I have a little bit of sugar. I'm going to add a component of sweet, savory, and spice. So I have my chili paste over here, and we're going to have a little bean paste as well over there, okay? So right here, it should be pretty close. I'm just going to break a piece over here so I can feel it. And just like any pasta, if it's too hot for you to bite, you can just cut and you can see it's still very nice and white in the inside, which means that the noodle is not completely cooked yet, okay? But it's very, very close. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this off the heat. I'm going to strain it, okay? However, I will keep this in the water for a little bit because I want to keep the heat and I want the noodles not to stick. So I'm going to keep in this little bath over here just until I finish the second part of the composition, okay? Here we go. My sauté pan over here. I'm going to bring the heat to medium high, so you're going to get nice and hot. And then I'm going to start my composition with my pork first, okay? I'm going to cook my pork until you just kind of break loose nicely. I'm going to get all the flavors necessary over there. I'm going to add my onions. My onions are going to cook to translucent, and then I'm going to add my cabbage, and then I'm going to allow the cabbage to cook gently, and then I'm going to add my sprouts, and then I'm going to go with the sauce. The thickening, the natural thickening agent that we're going to be using for this, going to be a little slurry made with cornstarch and water. So I'm just going to use this little bit of water over here, a touch of cornstarch, and then going to add this nice little glazy feel that you're going to actually see going out around. You're going to notice that this pan is nice and hot, which means you're going to see that the oil is moving right along. Okay? And again, shows versatility of the canola oil over here. It's not going to the smoke, it's not separating the oil, it's holding, a great texture over there, just kind of holding, no problem. So I'm going to put my pork and I'm going to begin my composition. I want to cook my pork fully, but I would still want to hold some nice moisture over there, okay? And don't worry about sticking the bottom a little bit. Don't worry about it, because this is basically a kind of style of kind of wok cooking or stir fry, which means movement. You want to kind of really move. Like if this was a traditional, a classic, you know, kind of cuisine, we'll be looking for what we call fond, which would be the caramelization of the protein. The sugars on the protein will caramelize, will stick to the bottom of the pan, and that will create flavor on the sauce. I'm not looking for a lot of fond over here because I don't want to sear this pork. I want this pork to be nice and loose. Okay? Okay, now it's ready for my onions. Just going to cook my onion until translucent. I still want to hold texture. Texture is really a key component of this dish, okay? This dish over here is going to have a kind of Beijing, kind of almost like a street food kind of feel to it. And you notice we're using canola oil for an Asian-inspired dish. We have the recipe that was just cooking the other day. That is a Tunisian-style grilled chicken with a pomegranate vinaigrette. It's a delicious recipe, and that's another, you know, kind of North African kind of style. So you see that how canola is versatile and user-friendly when it comes to global cuisine. So you can add any flavor profile, and canola oil would work just fine for you. It's a perfect oil, really, to work with different types of flavoring, because you will be able to taste what we're cooking it. So I'm going to add my cabbage over here, and I'm going to wilt the cabbage. Again, I love cabbage, and I think a little texture would be appropriate. And you saw that I cut the julienne in nice little long strings, because that would marry with the noodles and will give a nice little mouth feel. Okay? Now it's time for my sprouts. And then I'm going to begin to set up my sauce. So everything's going to be done right here, okay? Now I can bring the heat down a little bit. And I'm going to add my oil, my dark soy, my mirin, it's great aromas. The seasoning over here, you're going to notice, I'm going to use a little bit sugar. I'm going to use a little bit white pepper and some salt. Okay? Great color, great color. Okay? So here, I'm going to add a little bit of my starch and water. This is called slurry. That's going to be a little thickening agent. We're going to make those natural juices over there a little more of a glaze. So we're going to have a little better mouthfeel. Going to just kind of marry the flavors with the pork, and also going to add this interesting little glaze around the noodles. Okay? Now I'm ready to get my noodles in there and do my tossing. Beautiful, this is perfect. Outstanding flavor, outstanding color. So I'm going to shut the heat over here, and I'm going to work on my garniture, okay? I have a few juliennes of cucumbers, a little bit the cucumbers and carrots. I'm just going to add this little oil over here. Going to season with salt and black pepper, a little bit canola oil. Okay? And I'm going to put a little bit of this paste over here, and I'm going to finish this dish with a little paste over there as well. Okay? So this is ready to go. And this salad garniture is also ready to go. We get a nice bowl, and we get this presentation. You notice that once I thicken this sauce, it got texture. So now you see that every noodle is embraced by this beautiful sauce, okay? I'm going to use this version almost like a little bundlet. I'm going to make just a simple little bundle here, and I'm going to just kind of stick right in the center. Okay? I'm going to use a few of these little greens as an herb garniture. And then you have your Beijing style stir-fried egg noodle dish. Enjoy!